Biology, politics, English, maths, physics, chemistry. These are all very different subjects, and you'd think learning them would require very different methods. However, despite all their differences, your ability to achieve top marks in any subject hinges on your ability to memorize information. How do you revise for biology? You've got over 100,000 words in each textbook. You will not be able to answer the short or long answer questions in the exam without having those facts in your head on exam day. Studying German, a native German speaker from Munich couldn't walk into an A-level or GCSE German exam without doing any memorization or preparation whatsoever and achieve a top grade. In the same way, you couldn't do that for an English exam. Beyond the adjectives and nouns, there are multiple themes that you need to memorize. What about physics? Now, weaved between the calculations and the methods, there are thousands of facts that you need to commit to memory. So how do we solve the age-old problem of remembering what we study? Using the Scribble technique. Now, what is the Scribble technique? It is a simple but powerful technique that involves learning information and explaining it back to yourself or someone else from memory. I provided a detailed description of this technique in my two books, How to Ace Your GCSEs and A-Levels. Since then, thousands of students have used it to achieve top grades. Some top YouTubers have also created tutorials on the technique. Despite all this, I'm still asked whether the Scribble technique actually works. So instead of telling you about it, I'm going to show you. I asked a student to learn a few pages from a biology textbook using the Scribble technique and then explain the information back to me from memory. Here's a short preview of what happened.
There are certain ways in which plants are adapted towards this process. So leaves, for instance, are what are they? Leaves are spread out, arranged in a pattern, which means that they can be reached by light. They're also thin because the photosynthesis takes place in the upper. I mean, it takes place quickly, like not deep. I don't understand this. The photosynthesis takes place not going deeply on the upper miniature. I don't know what it's called. Like I can't remember. Basically, they're thin. There was another one that was really, really basic, which was that leaves. I can't remember that one though. They have transparent cuticles and epidermis, which are for that allows the light to get to the mesophyll below, the upper mesophyll. This upper mesophyll is narrow and long because and it's full of chloroplasts. I don't know why. I didn't. So the long and the upper mesophyll are long and narrow, and they're full of chloroplasts, packed with chloroplasts. Sorry about the stomata. There are numerous stomata, which means that I don't know whether this is the right one. I think that there are numerous stomata, which means that there are. I forgot that I meant to be telling this to a 10-year-old.
You're doing well. Keep going.
Okay. Numerous stomata, which means that the mesophyll can always is always close to one of them, one of the stomata. These open and close depending on the light, and there's air pockets, which were for something that I didn't understand. Something about gas diffusion. And then there's networks of xylem and networks of phloem. And the xylem is for bringing water in, I think, and then the phloem is for carrying glucose, which has been created through photosynthesis, out of the cell, or something like that.
Excellent. You've pretty much got every bullet point. Annie was able to remember over 90% of the information from those pages a day after she revised them. Now imagine if Annie covered her entire textbook using the Scribble technique and then did a past paper. What do you think she would get? That's exactly what I did after failing my first year of A-levels. I was so annoyed at myself that I set myself a target to learn 20 pages a day from my biology textbook using the Scribble technique. I did this for 30 consecutive days. Then I stopped. I didn't touch the subject for months, and I just assumed that I had forgotten everything, until out of nowhere, our teacher surprised us with a mock test, a mock past paper in class. I scored 63% in that exam, and guess what the second highest mark was? 43%. That's when I knew the Scribble technique worked. I then went on a rampage and learned every single one of my textbooks, all those content-heavy textbooks, in the same way. I was able to cover entire syllabuses 2 to 3 times faster than my school. After retaking all my exams, I turned my dismal DDDU into straight A's and got into UCL. I used the Scribble technique all the way through university and ended up getting a first-class honours and an award by the Dean of Students for achieving one of the highest degree scores in my faculty. So it worked for me, it worked for Annie, and it worked for my readers, but will it work for you? In 2013, a group of scientists from a number of American universities conducted a gigantic study on the best way to learn information, and the results were astonishing. They found that above all else, practice testing was the most effective way to prepare for exams. Practice testing or retrieval practice or the Scribble technique, these are all the same learning methods that involve pulling information out of your brain. Now, scientists tend not to agree on much, but they reached a broad agreement that this was the best way to remember what you read. So you would think everyone would be using this, right? Wrong. Only 7% of students use retrieval practice, the Scribble technique or equivalent technique in their revision. Now, it just so happens a very similar percentage of students each year achieve straight A's. Is it a coincidence or not? I'll let you decide.